There is a specific kind of silence that happens when the power gets cut and your baby is too hungry to keep crying. Elena Vance was at her breaking point. She sent a desperate text to the only person she thought could save her. But she hit the wrong number. She thought she'd made the biggest mistake of her life, until her phone lit up the dark room with a notification that changed everything. Transfer received. $5,000. The silence in the apartment was heavy, broken only by the rhythmic, desperate sobbing of 6-month-old Leo. Elena Vance sat on the floor of the nursery, the blue light of her phone the only thing cutting through the darkness. The power had been cut at noon, unpaid bills finally catching up to her. She opened the formula tin. It was empty. She had spent the last 2 days stretching the powder, watering it down until it was little more than cloudy water. Her heart felt like it was being squeezed by a cold hand. Swallowing the last of her pride, she opened her messages and began typing to her brother, Ben. Ben, I'm sorry. I know I said I wouldn't ask again, but the power is out and I have no formula. I need $50. Just $50 to get through the weekend, please. Her eyes blurred with tears as she hit send. She didn't notice that in her haze of exhaustion, she hadn't selected Ben. She had typed a digit wrong, sending the plea into the digital void. 40 floors above the city, in a penthouse made of glass and cold ambition, Julian Thorne watched the rainfall. As the CEO of Helix Core, Julian was a man of absolute control. He was a former military strategist who had built a tech empire on the principle of zero trust. His private phone, a number guarded more closely than his bank accounts, chirped. He picked it up, expecting a security alert. Instead, he read the words of a woman on the brink of collapse. Most billionaires would have blocked the number. Julian didn't. He remembered a night in a freezing ditch in a country he couldn't name, where a stranger had shared a ration pack that kept him alive. He typed back, "You have the wrong number, but I can tell you're counting the seconds. What's the address of the nearest 24-hour pharmacy?" Elena stared at the reply. Her first instinct was fear, but she was past the point of caution. She sent the location. Within 3 minutes, her phone buzzed with a notification. Julian Thorne had sent $5,000. The memo read, "Get the baby what he needs. Don't waste the rest." The next morning, the lights were back on and the fridge was full. Elena felt like she was dreaming until she saw the message history. "Why?" she texted. "I don't even know who you are." "I'm an investor," the reply came. "And right now, you're a bad investment. You're smart enough to text a stranger, but too proud to fix your life. I looked up the name on your account. You have a degree in biochemistry. Why are you begging for $50? The tough love stung. Elena fired back, explaining the daycare costs, the company closure, and the debt. "Stop making excuses," Julian replied. "If you want to earn that money, show up at Helix Core at 9 a.m. Ask for Sophie Chen. Bring the kid." Helix Core was a fortress of chrome and ego. Elena felt small in her thrifted blazer, carrying Leo in a faded sling. But when she met Sophie Chen, the chief of staff, there was no judgment. Sophie led her to a state-of-the-art nursery, tucked right inside the executive wing. "Leave the boy here. Our staff is vetted. You have an interview." Julian Thorne was sharp, cold, and utterly focused. He didn't stand up or offer coffee. "I checked your thesis on molecular sequencing," he said, tossing a folder on the desk. "It was brilliant. Your current situation is a tragedy of logistics, not talent. I have a leak in my finance department. Millions are moving through shell companies I can't track because my CFO has the board in his pocket. I need eyes that haven't been corrupted by the corporate culture. You'll be a temporary audit clerk. If you find the leak, you keep the job. If you don't, you keep the money, and we never speak again. For the next 2 weeks, Elena lived in the data. She worked while Leo slept in the nursery down the hall. On the 12th day, she found it. A series of payments to a vendor called Trinox Solutions. The amounts were always under $10,000, just low enough to avoid automatic flagging. She tracked the IP addresses used to approve the payouts. They weren't coming from the office. They were coming from ghost credentials created during a system update. She walked into Julian's office and laid out the spreadsheets. "It's Marcus Sterling," she said, her voice steady. "Your CFO. He's using Trinox to siphon funds into a Delaware trust. He's building a war chest to buy out the board and vote you out." The air in the boardroom was thick with tension a few days later. Marcus Sterling sat at the head of the table with a smug smile, calling for Julian's resignation. "Julian, it's over," Marcus said. "Your erratic behavior, hiring single mothers off the street, has proven you're unfit." Julian didn't look at the folder Marcus slid across the table. He looked at the door. Elena walked in, carrying a laptop. She plugged it into the giant monitor. "Actually, Marcus," Elena said, her voice echoing in the silent room, "we should talk about Trinox Solutions." As the data filled the screen, the shell company links and the time-stamped logins from Marcus's private laptop, the CFO's face went from pale to ashen. "This is a fabrication," Marcus shouted. "The FBI agents in the lobby don't think so," Julian said quietly. "They've been reviewing Elena's report for the last 4 hours." The aftermath was a whirlwind. Marcus was escorted out in handcuffs, and the board fell in line. A week later, Julian found Elena in the nursery, packing up Leo's things. "Where are you going?" he asked. "My temp contract is up," she said, though her heart ached. Julian leaned against the doorframe. "I don't remember saying it was up. I fired the entire senior audit team this morning. I need a director of internal oversight. Someone who can't be bought. Someone who knows what it's like to have everything on the line." He handed her a new badge. It said, Director. Elena looked at the badge, then at Julian. For the first time, the mogul looked human. "Why me?" she asked. "Because," Julian said, "you are the only person in this city who told me the truth before you even knew my name." For months, their relationship remained professional. But the shift finally happened on a rainy Tuesday. Elena was finishing a report when the lights flickered from a passing storm. For a split second, she was back in that cold, dark apartment. Her breath hitched. "The power isn't going out, Elena. I bought the grid back up myself." Julian was standing in the doorway. He walked in and sat on the sofa in her office, looking tired for the first time. "I never told you why I replied to that text," Julian said quietly. "I did it because I was staring at a bottle of scotch, wondering if anyone in this world actually needed me, or if they just needed my money." Elena sat across from him. "And what did you find out?" "I found out that the $5,000 was the cheapest thing I ever bought," he said, looking her directly in the eyes. "The loyalty you gave me, the way you fought for this company, that's not something you can invest in. That's something you have to earn." He reached out, his hand interlacing with hers. "I used to think that text was a mistake," Elena whispered. "It wasn't a mistake," Julian replied. "It was an intervention."
The story doesn't end with a public announcement. It ends with a quiet moment in the penthouse. Julian is sitting on the floor, patiently building a block tower with Leo. Elena watches them with a look of absolute peace on her face. Julian looks up and catches her eye. There are no balance sheets here, no secrets. Just a man who was lost and a woman who was drowning, who found a way to stay afloat together. A final text notification pings on the table. It's a message from Julian to Elena. "I'm glad you had the wrong number."
The fall of Marcus Sterling was only the beginning. While the media hailed Julian as a hero, the office atmosphere was thick with unease. Elena was no longer the girl in the thrifted blazer. She was the director of internal oversight. Every morning, she felt the eyes of executives who had been loyal to Marcus, waiting for her to fail. But Elena didn't fail. She rebuilt the company's safeguards while caring for Leo in the high-tech nursery Julian had built. During these late hours, the professional lines began to blur. Julian started finding excuses to stay late, watching Leo play with a softened look the business world never saw. One evening, a storm caused the lights to flicker. For a second, Elena was back in her dark apartment. Before she could gasp, Julian's hand was steady on her shoulder. He didn't move away when the lights returned. He told her she was the only person who made the building feel like something other than a tomb. The tension was electric, but complicated. Julian was still the mogul, and Elena was the woman he had saved. They both had to learn that trust was the one thing his money couldn't buy.
The true test came when a rival firm leaked a story painting Elena as a manipulative opportunist who used a wrong number text to trap a billionaire. The headlines were brutal. Elena walked into Julian's office with a resignation letter, ready to disappear to protect him. Julian didn't even look at the paper. He turned his monitor around to show he was already taking down the media outlet that started the rumor. He told her she was still thinking like a victim. He called her the only asset he had that wasn't for sale. That was the night the walls finally came down. Julian eventually stepped back from the chaos of the company, trading his late-night scotch for late-night stories with Leo in the penthouse. The legend of the wrong number became a reminder that a single moment of desperation can lead to a lifetime of purpose. Elena never forgot the sound of the empty formula tin, and Julian never forgot the text that saved him from his own isolation. They weren't just a success story. They were a testament that sometimes the biggest mistakes lead to the only things that are real. The final message Julian ever sent to that wrong number was 3 simple words. "Thank you, Elena."